like that. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. You gotta be kidding me.
We're back. Are we better than ever? There's only one way to find out, and that's to listen to the end of this and then ultimately come to the conclusion that the answer is truly... who gives a fuck? Yeah. My name is Stuart Quigley. Alongside me is...
Matt.
No.
No surnames.
You should see the amount of effort he puts into to just sort of no-sell the idea that I'm going to say anything other than your first name.
Good.
One day we'll get you... It's like the reverse of WWE. One day we'll get you a second name. This is Beyond The Beermat, episode 2. We've not been completely pulled uncensored. Vince basically hasn't sent the lawyers just yet. They'll get on us as soon as he's actually heard of us, which will probably be somewhere around the same time as Triple H is out of WrestleMania main events, i.e. never. What we have got then, it's finally here, WrestleMania Day. It's going to be a long day, and what we've got for you is a sort of, not necessarily guide to the matches, but a guide to how the hell you're supposed to get through this. It's interesting actually, because I do want to mention one thing. Without knowing the actual schedule of the matches, it's hard to know where the peaks and the troughs are going to be. However, one trough I know is I'm ready and waiting for is that 4 a.m. absolute doom slot, for which I suspect Triple H will be making an appearance, not to go all in on him well too early.
Who knows? You're knocking the match already, prematurely if anything. And
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try and work a bit of the old Conor McGregor throwing chairs at bosses angle in there somewhere.
Now, I was going to save that for later, but seeing as we don't actually have a written agenda, I'm throwing that in there. We're going to have to jump on this now. There are one or two aspects, this being the big one. Actually, we should preface this with, because of time zones and the world being a thing, one of the reasons why the 5-hour slog is a 5-hour slog is because it starts at midnight UK time and will end around about 5, half 5 if there's an overrun. Some of us may have to go to work in the morning.
No.
Yeah. So that being said, that is why the actual length and nature of the show becomes such a big deal over here, really. If it was starting at somewhere around 10 p.m. and ending around 3, I think I'd be fine with that. But the McGregor thing does add a little element of spontaneity. And what do you need when you're about to fall asleep? The idea, at that time of day, especially when you're watching a 5-hour show, is you need an injection of, I can't fall asleep because something ridiculous might happen. When you're saying the old Conor McGregor throwing chairs around, and we already got one prediction right, having no basis of information in Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, so I was well chuffed with that. Where and when are you throwing Mr. McGregor into the mix?
Because it can't come towards the end, can it? It needs to be the top of the 4th hour, maybe. It's going to be that long anyway.
Because realistically speaking, I don't necessarily think you have to interject him into a match. You could literally just have a match finish.
Yeah, are you predicting that there's actually an appearance from the man there?
100%.
It's a bit attitude here, isn't it? It's, no, there's a brawl in the parking lot. Yeah. Quick, get a camera there. That's handy.
No, that's what I sort of expect to see happen. What I might do is, you could throw him into a match. But if you just had a segment whereby, like, match is finished, someone's backstage interviewing Titus O'Neil for no particular reason, and all of a sudden you hear some commotion, and Conor McGregor is doing exactly that backstage, there is a part of me that will think, oh yeah, this is all well put together. There is another part of me that will think, oh shit, he's just decided to turn up.
I've got an idea for a match. It's going to be a quality angle. Cool. Because Cena and Undertaker obviously isn't on the card, that's not happening. What they could do is, Big Show's just signed a bloody great big new contract extension, even though I thought he'd have been like, hanging his boots up anyway.
Yeah.
Big Show, McGregor, announced the night of WrestleMania. Big Show wins, everyone beats Conor McGregor.
Jeez.
Floyd Mayweather, that beat the Big Show. Then next year's WrestleMania, the greatest triple threat of all time. McGregor, Mayweather, Big Show, the 3 figureheads of these sporting industries.
Quite literally a 3-ring circus.
Amazing. That's what we need.
Funnily enough, you've actually stepped on the toes of the other thing I was going to mention. So we're already well into this, and I'm going to bring the Conor McGregor thing back around in a second. But the Undertaker, John Cena Open Challenge. Have you seen, by the way, how they're getting around the fact that this match isn't official yet in terms of merchandise? It's literally got all the matches, the pictures of the wrestlers, including Cena and Undertaker, but underneath Cena Undertaker, it actually says words to the effect of, Undertaker hasn't accepted yet. This is not official confirmation.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Is it in small print? Or have they
it's just tiny
really
right underneath. Yeah.
What I have seen, I read it this morning, is that it's all Vince McMahon's storyline, actually himself, rather than the creative team and then signing it off. And he basically said, wrestling fans, whether or not you're a casual or a hardcore fan, you're going to be watching WrestleMania anyway.
Yeah.
So whether or not he showed up on Raw for the last 3 weeks doesn't make a blind bit of difference.
I actually really like this. And I know for a fact that I'm not going to be a typical smark and get really disappointed when they don't do this amazing idea that I've just plucked out of thin air that can't really be put together in the way that I wanted to, because realistically the logistics of it are a bit complex. But just hear me out. John Cena's giving it jabber in the ring. Undertaker, yes. You're miming the jabber motion, which is like the Pac-Man but with you.
Oh yeah, you can't see it over
No,
sound.
you can't. No, yeah. So he's giving his chat, and it will be the first time for a very long time in the last few years that I've heard Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's music and will be excited.
Ain't going to happen.
I'm not saying it will, but just hear me out. Like, he comes out, bit of jabber between back and forth. You think to yourself, they're not doing thrice in a lifetime here now, with no fucking provocation.
Build up at all.
Yeah. Rusev comes out because he's challenging a celebrity and he wants all that blah blah, which means obviously as well that The Rock and John Cena can get their wacky moves in and bury someone that doesn't really mean anything to them. Means something to the crowd. We'll pop the crowd, probably get some boos for Cena and less boos for The Rock, even though it's the same thing.
Bury Rusev.
Yeah. On Rusev Day as well, disgraceful. And then obviously Cena gives him the last move or whatever, turns around into a rock bottom because lol, The Rock hates John Cena. And when Cena's lying there prone on the mat, then the lights go out.
Actually,
End the show. Yeah, it's the end of the show.
Are we going to argue in only episode 2, young Stuart? I can't believe that you're actually looking forward to a potential appearance by The Rock. If it went your way, you'd be excited for it. No, man.
Oh, what I'm saying is that the whole anticipation of Cena calling out The Undertaker means that you can fit other things in there.
Okay, who would you replace then instead of The Rock? If you had that same angle, someone that's that big that could pop the crowd.
Austin?
Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, God. There's a slight... They're figureheads of companies, but not quite in the same sort of way. I don't really know who else would pop the crowd like that. It'd be Hogan.
I think so. That's probably a more likely contender, I think, at this stage.
The only problem with that is that if The Rock comes out, you'd at least in your head go, oh, we're going to get some sort of altercation / match. Well, the other reason why I'm thinking this in the first place is because Cena and Rock have been jabbering each other on American talk shows over the last couple of weeks.
Are they?
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, are they doing some bullshit planting seeds there? And I know I'm overthinking it, so it doesn't really matter too much. But the thing is, if Hogan comes out, then all of a sudden I'm going, you ain't wrestling Cena. Rusev may as well come out with Hogan just to get buried.
Hello. Yeah, it sounds a good idea. And I'm sure lots of people would still like, oh, Dwayne Johnson to show up. But looking at the political side of things, have you read about how he's not showing up because they're not going to promote his film?
Which one?
I don't know, Rampage?
Yeah.
The one about the big monkey and crocodile and...
The one from an old computer game.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that game.
Did you?
Yeah. I never thought when I was playing it as a 5-year-old that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would be bringing it to life, but there we go. Because I'd never heard of him at the time. I was only 5.
Sure. So they're not going to promote his film, and in turn, I don't understand like the whole political side of it. Wasn't it something to do with John Cena's film not being...
What, cock blockers, even though they're not allowed to call it that?
What are they calling it?
Blockers. It's weird.
With a picture of a chicken?
I think so.
Yeah, I thought that.
Grammatically, just blockers doesn't sound right. But you can't go around calling it picture of a chicken, blockers. It all harks back to that terrible Triple H DX shirt.
Oh, with a chicken on there?
Yeah.
That's a good t-shirt.
Vince loves me. Not us, or me, but me referring to the chicken in the shirt, because he loves cock, which is hilarity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, let's get back to the point. Going off on a bit of a tangent about cocks and t-shirts. How are we getting through 7 hours of WrestleMania? And my suggestion is, as I experienced during WrestleMania 27, don't get completely shit-faced for the 6 hours leading up to WrestleMania.
No, quite literally, drink responsibly has never been more of a sort of tagline. It should be WrestleMania, don't get too fucked before and you'll hate yourself afterwards.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the show of itself to make you hate this. You don't want to hate yourself even more just because of it. When you say how we're going to get through it, this is why I think that what WWE have done this year with the Cena thing specifically, and whether or not it's anything to do with them, the McGregor thing does add an element of, I can't really look away from this just in case. Me personally, the Triple H match and the main event, which is supposedly Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, I'm not too arsed about. I'm really not. But I won't be able to look away just in case something like that happens. And going back to our original thing with McGregor, I'm having McGregor screw Lesnar at the title.
Oh yeah.
100%. We know Lesnar's going. We all expect Roman Reigns to win the title. I think this is a way where you don't necessarily... I mean, you might, because crowds, especially smarky crowds like WrestleMania, may go over the top, may shit all over it anyway. But I think it would be such a... that I don't think... I think the reaction would be almost confusion, which is not what you want, but I think confusion's better than solid booing of your new champion.
Are you saying that McGregor's little outburst during the week was a work?
Oh, 100%.
Was it?
Yeah.
Why was he stripped of the titles anyway? Or is that what actually happened? I don't know why he kicked off in the first place.
Like I say, when I look at that, I feel like the reason why he kicked off is because there's some sort of deal going on. But that's me.
Was Lesnar's contract expired? Is it over anyway?
I'm not sure the details of it, but like basically Dana White has already gone on. He's gone so far as to say not only will he be going back, they're basically already talking about who he's going to be fighting, so long as he's cleared of all his druggies. And then what you do then in that regard, you sort of build for whether you want to do it next year or the year after, McGregor versus Lesnar.
What's your idea of interchangeable UFC to wrestling appearances?
I think if both organisations can make money, where there's money on the table, they will take it. I think at this point, with Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, and not necessarily, he's not actually appeared on WWE TV yet, but with the whole package of Conor McGregor, it's like the sports entertainmentification of the UFC. I don't think it takes away from the legitimacy of it. I think there may be a backlash from some of the hardcore fans from the UFC. But at the end of the day, it's almost like wrestling in the sense of Dana White will look at, I might lose like a top tier of a little bit of fan base or a little bit of credibility with my fan base, but look at this big pile of cash that I've got ready to take home.
Yeah, maybe you get CM Punk.
All the UFC connections, I didn't even make that, and he's the one that literally did, but like, he's...
Or maybe, even better than that, you want an MMA to wrestling fighter.
You're going to call out, I think you're going to call out.
Tank Abbott.
Oh, I was going to say Ken
Amazing.
Shamrock, yeah. Tank Abbott, he's not got his credibility back from when he managed 3 count in WCW. It's fine. Again, I'd like to point out, I would be completely fine with 3 count reforming at WrestleMania.
Why?
What
Do we need a new Day? They could have brought in the Freebird Tag Team Championship, where it is just 3 belts. 3-on-3 tag teams.
Hasn't Chris Jericho or someone suggested that there's like a trio champions, like on SmackDown or something?
Shikara do it, don't they?
Yeah.
King of Trios and all that sort of business.
There was a period of time, if you were going to introduce it, you would have introduced it when Shield were fighting the Wyatts.
And New Day had a bit of, that must have been concurrent, surely.
New Day have been going a lot longer than you think.
Yeah, I would have thought so. It only struck me the other day that Kofi Kingston's been there since 2005? That's a long time.
Yes. We spoke a lot about what we don't know, what we speculate, what could sort of pop the crowd and give you that injection of energy as you're watching WrestleMania unfold.
Yeah.
Now, we've got to get back to the hard part, which is, what do we know about that's going to happen that will get us excited, that will get us through this show?
For a weekend that I've been looking forward to for the last, 3-4 weeks, maybe, why am I now not looking forward to actually watching WrestleMania?
Anticipation is always much better than the actual event, I think.
Oh yeah, seeing the presents before you unwrap them.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Which is why, and I'm going to try and word this very carefully, any sexual, not sexual chocolate, but like any sexual reference, like naked is like, yeah, just go one step back, go to underwear before that, because then you got to see what you can unwrap. And I'm not referring to men or women there, so I'm being sort of equally balanced.
Talking about old sexy chocolate.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of the Hall of Fame on Friday or seen any highlights? Because old Mark Henry came out wearing the old salmon jacket again, didn't he?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it started...
I don't know how this has managed to escape my attention.
No, not really calling out because it all has to stay rather dignified, doesn't it, at the Hall of Fame. But he had words with Roman Reigns, who's not holding a belt, but if he gets a belt, Mark Henry will be taking it. Words with John Cena, just for shits and gigs. And words with AJ Styles as well.
Really?
But who I did notice in the crowd, Magnus from TNA. Because he's married to Mickey James. I didn't know that.
I can't be honest.
That was the highlights. Magnus, right? He used to be off Gladiators.
Is that the first? Not even the good Gladiators though. It's not like the Wolfman's coming out.
Nah, shitty Gladiators.
Yeah. In fact, what was his name in Gladiators?
Apollo, Atlas, maybe something like that.
Atlas, yeah, that sounds about right. I honestly thought for a second that was going to be the end of the podcast because we're both going to be stumped and then just come up with Magnus after about 5 minutes. I think that might be the first time in history someone's actually popped for Magnus.
He was good in TNA. He was insta-heel because he had a British accent.
I'm going to have to take your word for that.
Right, so getting back to WrestleMania, finally. What's opening the show? Pre-show, even.
Well, we know the pre-show is the 2 Battle Royals, and I think there's one other tag team matches, I believe.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm prepared to be wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure both Battle Royals are pre-show. That much I am sure of.
So what's opening then?
I got a horrible feeling it's going to be SmackDown World Tour. They do this quite a lot now.
Yeah. Put a world title match right at the start. It gets the crowd jacked up.
Here's the thing though.
To some extent.
It's WrestleMania, and there aren't, even though it's not the most stellar card of all time, right? Is there really a match that you could start the show with? Because the whole point is to sort of pop the crowd.
I do actually. I do. I've got a sneaking suspicion. I think, for the whole marquee nature of it, I think AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura will go on later on in the show. I think if they've played the right card, Sheamus and Cesaro, Aka the Butter, Braun Strowman and his mystery partner, as long as the mystery partner's someone decent. I don't think... Can you see that being filler in the middle of...
I can actually see that being...
over.
Yeah, I would probably open with, because of the, as you said, smarky nature of the crowd, I'd probably open with The Miz.
Yeah, it might be an idea. Triple threat. It's for a mid-tier belt, ain't it? It feels... Going for the SmackDown equivalent, which just shows that they're not on an equal par. US title belt thing, whatever it's called nowadays. That couldn't open the show, could it? Granted, Rusev's over is buggery, isn't he? Can you really see Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and old Don't Hinder the Jinder, and Rusev actually opening WrestleMania? I bloody can't.
In my head, you see it in football sometimes where a team scores and then that's the cue for like mass exodus for like the stands. I hear Randy Orton's music starts and then when it cuts to the crowd, everyone's left. After last year, you've got to try and hide Randy Orton as much as possible, I think.
Oh yeah, during the old holographic Super Showdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some bullshit about Bray Wyatt or the next incarnation of Bray Wyatt being Braun Strowman's partner.
Yeah, I was going to mention that actually. I came across a young man on the train yesterday, a mutual friend of ours.
You say that like it sounds almost sexual. Oh wait, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
just in case anyone couldn't connect the dots there for that terrible euphemism.
We had a brief discussion about who's Braun's potential partner could be. Now, this is some hardcore speculation, and you've probably heard a lot of these anyway. A few names that were brought into the mix from research that I've done was Rey Mysterio, although he's injured at the moment, so ain't going to happen, but it would be the whole little and large thing. Big Show, as he's not in the Andre the Giant Battle Royale, or at least he hasn't been announced yet, which will be, yes, they were feuding when he actually disappeared the last time, or they sort of had that feud, didn't they, to put over one of the two big men, which was obviously going to be Braun. Neville, that was another one, but we haven't heard too much about Neville on the indie scene.
True.
Have you heard much?
I've heard very little, actually.
There was obviously a bit of speculation when he left. He obviously wasn't happy with his position as king of the 205 livers, but since then you haven't really heard much of him.
Yeah, a lot of people go and sort of immediately start making waves, whereas I don't even think has he performed anywhere since? I don't think so.
Who knows? I don't know. And a real outside chance of old Davey Batista, destroyer of galaxies.
Yeah, guardian of the galaxy as well.
Yeah, same difference really.
Yeah, well, quite literally the opposite. Destroyer of the galaxy, guardian. There's a slight sort of...
He's the destroyer. Jax the destroyer.
Drax,
that's the one. Who's Jax?
Just a fella out of Mortal Kombat.
With the arms. With the arms. That's the
Again,
one.
you're doing a motion that no one can see, but I assure you, it's hilarious. And also, I've never seen Jax do that motion ever. Who does that?
Jax does in Mortal Kombat. That's one of his fatalities.
What, to walk at you really funny? He looks like he's wanking up two dicks in front of his face.
Why do you think his name's Jax? Oh, yeah. So who is it? It's not going to be
It won't be Batista, purely on the basis of, I'm sure I read him an interview, or at least this was probably quotes wrongly attributed to him, that said he was going to be Ronda Rousey's partner originally.
And then they went with Kangol.
Yeah. Regardless of the...
He's got a UFC career, MMA career, interchangeable words.
As long as it's not TNA.
Did he win his first fight? He did. It was against the Jobber, I believe.
Yes. Going back to the Braun Strowman thing, and yeah, this is the thing I was going to say, even with the Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey thing, I think there's got to be, even regardless of how stretched the logic is, that at least there needs to be, for me, some sort of logic as to why he would pick them as a partner. So that rules out, like, you little and large things, I get it, and I understand the aesthetic and what works, but I just don't see, as stupid as it sounds, and I know this is complete sort of me being too much of a smark, But I just don't see Rey Mysterio and Braun Strowman being friends.
No. Can you see Braun Strowman sort of being given that goofy FaceTime though?
100%, yeah.
It came across in the mixed tag challenge thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
Where he was having a little bit of a flirt with old Alexa Bliss and this, but...
If she wasn't in the women's title match, I wouldn't actually mind
she
just
came
throwing
out
her in.
as a
Yeah,
partner.
why
Yeah.
not? Then the WWE could go into overdrive with the look at us, we're so equal. We've got a woman as tag team champion.
Okay, so we've discussed that. What's opening? Let's get on with actually booking WrestleMania, shall we? What order are these matches going in?
Okay.
We're not booking it, but giving...
Laying it out. Well, what you do actually is, we've already talked about this at great length throughout this podcast. You've got 3 unknowns in theory. The Cena, the Braun Strowman's tag team partner, and the shroud/mystery of McGregor, which again, you say like, oh, that doesn't mean anything, but the Rousey thing hung over the Royal Rumble, and it wouldn't have worked without that. What you do then is you just bookend those 3. Braun Strowman, that's probably going to go on second. There's an argument to say first, depending on who the partner is.
Yeah.
Cena and Undertaker is going to be in the middle then.
Yep.
And then the end will be as we expect it to be. I don't know if they're going to put something in between, but Triple H, Stephanie, and Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle, and then Roman Reigns winning the title and pissing off every smark in the arena. And I say that, I actually think I think it's slightly gone the other way. I think smarks actually like Roman Reigns now. It's almost like paint by numbers, you just fill in the rest. This is what I think is WWE have done this year better than they've done in previous years, and their ability to put together a show is unparalleled, but their ability to book matches together next to each other that have no business being next to each other is a little bit of a hindrance, because we've seen it many a time whereby you'll get a match that pops the crowd and it ruins what comes after it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything here that you could go, if you put this on, it's going to burn the crowd out so much so that everything else after it will be fucked. Even the Cena Undertaker thing, it's not going to be a match, is it? This is the really weird thing that no one's actually addressed. It's probably just going to be an angle.
What,
Is this-
building up for next year?
No, not even building up for next year, just the fact of like, Undertaker will come out, they'll have some sort of brawl. I honestly don't know if we actually get a match at the end of this, right, or just like a fight.
I think
And even
there's
if we
going to
do-
be an appearance in there.
Yeah.
There's going to be an appearance. of some
But even if we
sort.
don't even if we get a match, it's not going to be to the point where you're like so drained after that like the next 2 matches are just quiet.
What do you think about Undertaker still being able to put on a good match then?
The responsibility relies heavily on who he's fighting and his own. I don't like. The thing is that we look at this through the lens of the end result, which is what he goes out there and does, and the sheer fact that he's still going out there and doing it is worth at least tipping the big black hat to. But at the same time, I'm not there with the Undertaker day in and day out, watching him go down the gym and whatever preparation he's putting in. So I don't know. No one knows. So if he goes out there and he puts on a quote-unquote subpar match, everyone will shit on it and go, oh, you're too old, you passed it, or whatever. But anyone can go out and put on a subpar match. It's just a fact that because he only does it once a year, that there's so much focus on it.
Yeah. John Cena can carry that match on his own, though, to be fair. Come on.
It's not like it's going to be quiet.
No, exactly.
And this is why I think it might be more like an angle rather than an actual match, because... And this might also be as well why I suggested like throwing other people in there, just to sort of pad it a little and make it seem like it's a lot longer. If you did what I suggested before with old Dwayne and all the rest of it, and then the lights come out, Undertaker comes out, he can have his big entrance. I mean, I don't know how long the rock bottom's supposed to keep you down for, but fuck me, not that long. Or he could just appear, to be honest with you. He could do his teleportation thing, although the only problem with that is you rob the crowd of his entrance.
Yes. I think you're more likely having just some sort of promo section just to fill the time, really.
Oh, yeah.
He can give a bit of talk
Basically,
about his career.
the
Everyone
whole-
gets happy about what he's achieved.
The whole
Stick
point
him
of
in
it,
the Hall
though,
Fame.
is that, and everyone listening to this must be going, Stuart, you're just such a smarky dickhead. We hate how you make the most simple thing even more convoluted, but at the same time, it's possibilities, and possibilities are what makes wrestling fun, because when you know exactly what's going to happen, even if you want that to happen, it's not necessarily as fun.
Well, that comes back to old Vince McMahon, doesn't it? He's obviously got the business acumen because he's been doing it for donkey's years and it's in the family. But the whole point of him saying we didn't have to bring out The Undertaker because fans are going to be watching it anyway, aren't they?
I really like it. I think it's been done very well, and it's very old school. I don't know how you would do it going forward, but I would like more sort of surprises at WrestleMania, as it were. And this isn't a surprise, but it's just sort of something that's more open-ended.
Yeah, but we've talked about this before. if you keep bringing out surprises in the form of older wrestlers, so people that aren't necessarily from this generation, what are you doing? All you're doing is burying talent of today.
Okay.
You're not building up the stars that you've currently got. This
is very much a podcast for another day, and we can talk about this for an hour. I think with that in mind, my personal opinion is, yes, I agree with you, but I don't think it hinders too much when it's two sort of part-timers, as it were. The Sting Triple H, for as much as everyone shat all over the overbooking of it, I absolutely loved it. And one of the reasons I loved it is because it didn't really matter to me that Sting lost. He should have won, and I would have loved him to win. But it wasn't like he was burying like someone that needed the win. Like Sting's career will not be defined by that match, which is why, again...
I think it will.
Really?
No, his career won't be defined by it, but his WWE career will be. Who's going to remember the stuff with Seth Rollins afterwards where he came out as a statue? Yeah. Oh, it's me. Who's going to remember that?
To be fair, that's a slight jump off better than the times in TNA where he was in the crowd and there was some guy in a Sting mask and he revealed a Sting mask underneath. You say that though, but the way WWE retcons all of wrestling history that's gone before, they sort of encompass WCW as well. To that point, and I know they own it, but it's to me it's two separate entities. But because they are like the purveyors of the tape library, and you can go and watch it back, I think Sting's whole legacy in WWE sort of is his WCW legacy as well.
Yeah.
If they'd never shown any of it, if they'd never acknowledged any of it, or if when Sting first came out, it was just like, who's this guy? Like, we've never seen him before in our lives. They at least tried to sort of hype up the old WCW angle, which at least, even for the casual fans that's never seen it, may have gone, yeah, we'll go back there. On the flip side of that coin, when you're saying, oh, we bring back old stars, it pisses me off when, and I'm not going to use the most obvious example, I'm going to use the one a couple of years later, when old Dwayne beats Eric Rowan, or whatever his name is, in 30-odd seconds.
Oh, yeah. That was Flamethrower Rock.
Yeah.
The best incarnation.
I mean, the Wyatt family were all virtually dead and buried at that point anyway, so it's not it's not Dwayne's fault.
Yeah.
But that's when I've got a problem with it. And they do this all the time anyway. For some of the wrestlers, you actually hear them give interviews, and it's like, I think it was the New Day spoke about when they had that segment with like Austin and that, and they said they were like arguing amongst themselves as to who would take the stunner or whatever. People, if I was a wrestler, would I want to take a Stone Cold Stunner? Absolutely yes, because it would make me in my head feel more relevant. All it does is overemphasise again and again how much better it was.
Yeah.
And you can't really do that all the time. I don't know how you address the balance on this. It would help if, say, at least 30% of the time, when these old fellas came back for a beatdown, like when the Revival got fucking bukaki'd on that 25th anniversary Raw by everyone. Okay, you can have that if you really want to. I don't think you need to have that, but if you want to have that, have like 30% of the time the Revival, or the equivalent of, actually gets the beatdown on the old fellas.
Yeah.
Don't make me think, as soon as the old fellas come out, look at that guy, he can hardly walk, he's definitely going to kill the young guy.
Well, you need to put them over eventually, don't you? But there's other ways of putting people over than one bringing out older talent to destroy them.
It's a vicious cycle, because what's happening is
I'll tell you what's happening. I'll give you a prime example of this. We discussed this on the last podcast, didn't we, where you spoke about me going through all the pay-per-views from way back when right until the modern day. So where I am at the moment, Extreme Rules 2013, I think. No, it's probably later than that. No, it is 2013. Extreme Rules 2013. So we've just had The Rock versus Cena Volume 2 in the last WrestleMania. Coincidentally, on that same card, I hope, Fandango versus Jericho. Now, obviously, hearing Jericho podcasts and other things that he said afterwards, he's going to be known as the guy that lost to Fandango on WrestleMania. Now I'm at Extreme Rules. They're having the rubber match, basically, and this is the first time that Fandango will have a loss since being on the main card of WWE. So, on the one hand, you've put him over to an extent, but straight away you've killed it with his first loss being against an older fella, Chris Jericho. And yes, it's only a B pay-per-view, and yes, for Extreme Rules, it was only a one-on-one match to open the show, so it was dead in the water anyway. But that was the end of Fandango's push, wasn't it?
I think that's the point. No, it's not that one loss. It's everything else that compounds it. You said before, like in the last podcast, we know wrestling, we know patterns of wrestling. Someone gets a push, they get their first loss after a while, and then, generally speaking, they're forgotten about to a certain degree. and they're left to sort of tread the waters until a catchphrase takes fire or something they do gets hot, and then they get the push again. In and of itself, that loss is fine, I think. It's just the lack of foresight to build upon that afterwards. It's such a terrible example. I don't know why this came into my head, but it's the easiest example I could give you. If you're going to address this, or at least play this as a real sport is brilliant because of, you have the stories of what's happened before, and you know that like when a boxer is going to win the title, you know like he's had his ups and downs or done this or done that. When a team is going to win the Champions League, you know like what players and what storylines they have, especially if they're playing a rival or whoever. In wrestling, it's like you should be able to build upon everything you've told me about this character before. The example I've, for no particular reason, come up with is Chris Masters. I know, yeah, the look on your face is hilarious, right? Regardless of whether he deserves any of this push or whatever, blah, blah, Vince sees him and he has a work, yes, we all know. However, when the Master Lock was eventually broken...
Who broke it? Pop quiz, asshole.
Batista?
That's a quote from Speed.
Yes, wow, we're doing movie podcasts now. Oh my god. Okay, so he breaks the Master Lock, and I don't know if he immediately disappeared from WWE TV or was just brushed aside casually, almost forgotten about. When he comes back with the exact same finisher as he had before. Now, I don't know necessarily the ins and outs of wrestling, but like if I've got this deadly finisher that no one can break, and then this one guy breaks it, I'm not going to come back with the same move. I'm at least going to modify it slightly, so that the storyline then becomes, okay, yeah, some guy found out that like he could break it. Whoop-de-doo, it's fucking Batista. Have you seen the size of the fella? Yeah. I've got a new improved one. The old one, none of you could break, and this is even better.
A bit of redemption.
Yeah.
To some extent.
It's subtle little things, and this is what happens when like people like us and a wrestling podcast, and they just get on their high horse and you just go, all you have to do is add this, all you have to do is add this. It always sounds so simple when it's coming from this particular point.
It's easy, all you're doing is knobbing about in a ring. How hard can it be? Fucking hell, I could do that. I've tried.
Yeah,
I failed.
yeah. And I was wondering when you were going to bookend that.
Okay, another match I just want to talk about real quick is Usos, New Day, and the Bludgeon Brothers. Usos seem to be on a bit of a push at the moment. Their whole Uso penitentiary.
You very nearly said very, very nearly Uso penetration there, which is very different.
So Jimmy and Jay going at it, twins of all things as well. Ooh, cheeky. Versus the New Day, which seem to have, they obviously hosted last year's WrestleMania and didn't completely overrule it or overshadow it like The Rock did. I thought they did a bloody good job of it. They couldn't have been in it for much more than the first hour and a half, maybe. I
think there was 3 segments though. They opened the show, I think.
Yeah, they did.
They had the segment with the Hardys. And I think there was 1 backstage segment.
Which is enough.
Yeah.
And they did a bloody good job of it, because they were over anyway. So they didn't
spot that, actually.
They didn't need a match, did they?
We're talking about like the difference between old wrestlers and new wrestlers. I think if you're going to have a wrestler host WrestleMania, the idea might be to do it with guys on the roster now, purely because the whole point of them jobbing out to like older guys is because they get the quote-unquote rub from just being in the ring with them. We'll just have them be in the ring with them and don't lose all the time.
Yeah, so Usos obviously over. New Day seem to be
perennially over.
Sort of plateauing, if it's not on the downwards streak now.
You say that, I honestly feel like if we were getting to that point, they would have split them up. I felt like a couple of times, they're going to have to sort of do something different.
1 word, 2 syllables. Pancakes. All right.
Yeah.
You can't just bring out a different food, a different breakfast food every 2 months and keep yourself over, surely.
You say that, have you seen how small children react to breakfast foods?
They love it.
Yeah.
And so do a lot of the Smarks as well, for some reason. Anyway, no, what I wanted to talk about was the Bludgeon Brothers. So obviously, like you said earlier, the ginger one out of the 2.
Eric Rowe.
Yeah, he took the beating from The Rock a couple of years ago. So is this their time to shine, really, in their SmackDown Tag Team Championship match?
Sort of depends on what they want to do with this, because it's weird. SmackDown has well more tag teams than Raw, but Raw seems to have more importance, I suppose, because of who the champions are, and the fact that the Hardys are there as almost sort of like shadow, because we know we're getting that at some point. Broken Hardys, as it were, tag team title reign. But on SmackDown, it's like you look everywhere. There's good talent there, but I don't feel any sort of direction. The whole Bludgeon Brothers and Fashion Police stuff was as much as I love the fashion files and I think they're absolutely hilarious, it never sort of went anywhere, and I don't know.
No, I would have expected a bit more from the Ascension afterwards, because the Ascension sort of got a bit of a rub from the old fashion files, didn't they?
Yeah, it's fascinating sometimes when we criticise WWE for like just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, and sometimes stuff sticks that you would never have called in a million years, and it's all credit to the performers being given this, and you just look at it on paper and go, this sounds weird, and yet they make it work.
So we've successfully failed trying to decide what order these matches are going to go in for WrestleMania. Stu, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for listening, everyone. Before we sign off, Stu, are you going to put me down like you did at the end of the last episode?
What? I didn't. I put you over.
Without you.
I put you over, man. Much like WWE, just simply by being on the podcast with me, you get over.
Thanks. Bye.